Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS current affair analysis for 13th October 2020, and these are the couple of articles we'll be dealing today. So these are very important articles, one with respect to the state and citizen relationship and the other one is about the TRP controversy. And in general, this is largely about the role of media, which is a topic in our GS3, and also we'll be taking it as a part of the GS2 governance aspect as well. So this is more like a topical issue rather than the editorial analysis, so please pay attention. The second article for the day is taken from the Live Mint, and it is about the nature of relationship between the state and the citizen. So when we mean state, we are talking about the deliverables from the side of the government and the obligations that a citizen should fulfill in the contract that a state and citizen has. So let us have a look at the nature of the state and citizen relationship in our country, the shortcomings and what can be better. If we have to understand the nature of relationship between a state and a citizen, the obligation of the citizen is to show some allegiance to the principles established by the Constitution and follow certain duties expected of him. In return for the allegiance shown to the Constitution and to the state should ensure that the rights of the citizens are taken care of, and also should protect the citizen from all sorts of dangers that might impede his human rights. So what are these rights that we're talking about? In our Constitution, we have fundamental rights which have been expanding ever since the Constitution has begun to take effect. Now the scope of fundamental reviews have been expanded with judicial review and the doctrine of basic structure. The basic premise of this article rests in this point: how the state of India is exactly opposite to the nature of the things that it should be doing. To emphasize this opening statement, the author quotes certain examples. The first one is about the provision of public goods. If we take a look at every successful major democracy where the quality of life is good, whether it is about education, whether it is about healthcare or social security benefits in the form of old age pensions, we are talking about countries like Scandinavian countries where the quality of is much better than the countries like US, which have the largest economic size. The cost of healthcare in US is also much more higher than, say for example, a country like UK. So we cannot say that a country is successful just on economic terms. Even though India is the 5th largest economy, which has recently overtaken UK, we have nowhere near the kind of healthcare system that UK has ensured. So we cannot blame it on the legacy of the British era even after 75 years of independence, despite being the 5th largest economy. So this provision of public goods has been one of the major problems. Now the second aspect that we have talked about is rights. If we take a look at the recent NCRB report, the crimes on women are continuously increasing in various states. Now what is the responsibility of the government? Like we have just seen, the responsibility of the states is to ensure protection. So when we mean protection, we are talking about the Indian Penal Code, that is law and order. Our criminal justice system is simply in shambles because of the low conviction rate and the judicial pendency and various other issues that we have dealt in the issues with the criminal justice system. So neither are we providing the health, education and social security benefits on the scale that they should be done, nor are we taking care of the protection aspect of the duty which is assigned to the state. It is because of this reason India is an antithesis of any state function. So the premise is even more expanded in various other domains like enforcing contracts, ease of doing business. Say for example, two parties enter into a contract, A and B, and says that according to the contract, A should deliver something to the B. But what happens in this contract enforcement, the role of government is, what if A fails to deliver the goods to B? We have to reach the courts for that. Contract enforcement has been in shambles again, because if you take a look at the 2009 Law Commission report, it said that it would take 464 years for the pending cases to be completed and your turn to come up. That is, unless and until you have certain element of luck or certain amount of influence, contract enforcement in our country is next to impossible in your lifetime. That is what this statistic implies. But having fair rules of all private enterprises is a prerequisite for ease of doing business. So this partly explains the failure of the Indian state to actually convert the policies like Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat into a complete reality, into exploring the full potential of our country. So the entire rest of the article can be summed up under 3 different heads. So this is the same kind of structure followed by the second ARC. We are just following that. First one is funds, second one is functions, and third one is functionaries. So we are basically talking about how to gather resources or the amount of money required to provide these public goods. When we are talking about the second aspect of functions, we are talking about legal reforms. And thirdly, when we are talking about functionaries, it is capacity building. One, we have to have the money to carry out the kind of reforms we need. For example, health, we are spending just 1.5% of GDP for public healthcare in our country, whereas countries like Brazil, which are on a similar scale, allocate multiple times the amount that we are allocating. Similarly, with respect to education, we say that 6% of GDP is being allocated to education. But what is the outcome? If we take a look at the surveys like Pradham survey, this Pradham's ASER report that comes out every year talks about the outcomes of school children. So there were certain instances in the previous years where the report said that even a 8th standard student cannot read a textbook of 2nd class or 2nd standard. So that is the kind of quality we are providing. So in order to have better quality, we have to focus on capacity building of our teachers. Now what if they don't deliver? We have to improve the legal system and the legal reform should be initiated. So everything is interlinked. When we have to provide the ultimate protection that is supposed to be the duty of the state, we have to focus on all these factors, and apart from this we have to focus on strong grievance redressal mechanisms. Unless and until we have them, the role of the state will always be skewed in the balance of those who have money and power. That is the gist of this article, and we have to focus the balance back in the control of the citizen by this strong reforms in various fields that we have just discussed. That is the gist of this article. This article is taken from the Hindu and it is titled The Tyranny of TRPs. So, when the context of this article is the role of media in a democracy and how the ecosystem of regulation is skewed in our country. So, this article in general talks about the approach and attitude of the Indian governance systems with respect to regulation. Nobody likes to be regulated, and this self-regulation aspect has been a point of controversy as seen in the latest TRP crisis. Now what is this TRP crisis and all, we'll get into that, but let us have a look at the role of media in the larger context of the democratic institutions and how it is important in our country and in general in every democratic society. The first point when we have to talk about the role of media is it is called the fourth estate. Now what is this estate that we're talking about? The origin for this concept has its origin in European history. So in traditional European history there are 3 estates which together comprise the government or the realm of power. In the medieval societies, the structure of the society was organized in between clergy, nobility and the commoners. So this has evolved into a structure which is characterized by separation of powers in a democracy, namely legislative, executive and the judiciary. So this separation of powers is to ensure efficiency in administration. But beyond these 3 estates in the modern sense of the meaning, we also have a fourth estate which is a sort of a watchdog or guardian and acts as a bridge between the public and the government. So that is the fourth estate called media. So what exactly is this media? So when we are talking about media, we have to understand that it is nothing but a communication medium, that is through which you convey the problems of the society to the government and at the same time take the agenda of the government to the public. That is the role of media. So it has the capability to influence people widely and has a significant place in the machinery of the state, especially in the information revolution age. So given this fact, a lot of competitors came into the picture. Now one of the major fund source for this media is advertising revenue. It is in this context we have to understand the controversy surrounding TRP. Now let us understand the significance of this TRP, how it is measured and what is the latest scam about, and then we will talk about the ecosystem of regulation in our country, and in the larger context we will talk about our attitude towards regulation. Let us have a look into this. TRP refers to television rating points. These television rating points generally signify how many people watch a particular TV channel and what show and what time, and it will give the density of the viewership in a particular geographical region. So this is calculated by something called a barometer, which is a device fitted on TVs. So is this connected to all the TVs? No, this is not true. The reason why there are certain agencies which try to capture this television rating points is to give to the advertising industry a research and also an analysis about how they can invest their advertising money and in what channel and in what basis. So this TRPs become very important for advertising agencies to decide where to put their ads. So if this institutions which carry out these measurements, if they are bribed by the television channels, there is a possibility that the entire system might be distorted in favor of a few channels. This is the controversy that is happening right now. There is an agency which measures this TRP, and this agency has been outsourced by the Broadcasting Audience Research Council, which is the regulatory body with respect to this entire ecosystem of media. So what happened here is, the allegation is the company which was measuring this tried to manipulate the data by giving viewers whose TV sets were fitted with this devices to watch a particular channel. So there were 3 channels. Mumbai Commissioner has mentioned 3 channels, which also includes the famous Republic TV of Arnab Goswami. However, the editor of this Arnab Goswami has mentioned that there was no mention of Republic TV in the FIR, and what is the reason for Mumbai Commissioner to mention the name of Republic TV in the press conference? So he is going to file a criminal defamation suit. So let us keep that issue aside, but let us come back to the main issue here. Since television rating points form the basis for advertising, there is a possibility that this can be distorted in a large way. Now, even before the BARC came into existence, this sort of practices were happening, and that is the reason the previous bodies were superseded by this BARC. But again, there is a problem. On what basis does BARC give the contract to the third party, and what is the grievance redressal mechanism, what is the transparency and accountability mechanism? It is not clear. The reason for this has a lot to do with the attitude towards regulation in our country. Nobody likes to be regulated in our country. There is no regulation for judges. The government tried to create the National Judicial Appointment Committee way back in 2014, but that did not take off, and Supreme Court has stuck it down, saying that it is ultra vires and against the constitutional principles. So this shows that we are a country where transparency and accountability are taken for a toss whenever there is a aspect of self-regulation. It does not mean that every body which is self-regulating is prone to corruption. What this article is trying to say is there is a danger with the concept of self-regulation, because somewhere down the line an individual in an organization might take the loopholes of this self-regulation into confidence and try to resort to certain unfaithful practices which will destroy the entire ecosystem. That is the case that has happened right now with respect to this agency which has been allegedly resorted to corruption, and therefore the trust on the entire system has been shaken. So how will the advertising companies trust the reports of these companies now? It will have to question BARC, which is the regulator, but BARC does not have any transparency and accountability mechanism. So this is the importance of regulation in our country. Therefore, what is the way forward as suggested in this article? We have to take inspiration from UK and US, where procedures to ensure transparency and accountability either through reports or regular audits happen. We have to resort to such measures also, and the idea of self-regulation should be slowly phased out. That is the gist of this article.